the law is being rethought, I'm hoping that you'll take these things into consideration. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I guess I'm gonna basically transition us to the dialogue portion by posing a question. On the floor in September, you made a very moving, very eloquent statement to your fellow members, and you echoed some of that just now. You observed that there was a 10-year sunset, and you observed that you intended to hold legislative hearings each year, and that if necessary, you would make adjustments to the law. The implication there is that the adjustments might be based on the fact that we might identify some concerns that need to be addressed, and therefore the adjustments might be in the nature of adding additional safeguards into the law. As you just observed, and in fact this is mathematically correct, the California law has more safeguards than Oregon, Washington, or Vermont. Now, and we just heard Helene Starks mention how even in Oregon, it's very difficult for a patient to navigate that process, and arguably then it would be even more difficult to navigate the California process. Now, there's a lawsuit that's proceeding right here in San Francisco, which is challenging the constitutionality of the statute, basically because the argument is that it's a constitutional right, and therefore the 15-day waiting period, as an example, is an obstacle to the constitutional right. And so it reframes what I guess we're characterizing as safeguards as restrictions and obstacles and hurdles. Now, it's going to be years before it's to the Supreme Court, but I guess my question is, how do we balance, or I'm just thinking how you might actually have to do this, balance access against patient safety. In other words, we could add more safeguards in. We can make, instead of making the mental health assessment by referral only, we could just require it straight up. We can, as we do in California with a lot of other healthcare interventions, require a mandated disclosure. In other words, instead of leaving it to individual clinicians to have these discussions how they will, we could draft a pamphlet or draft a video that must be disseminated. So there's a lot more safeguards we could provide, but the more safeguards we put in, it makes the law less subject to abuse. It also makes it more difficult and more expensive. And I'm not sure how you balance that. Maybe some of these safeguards were just political, you just needed to put them in to get certain people on board. Maybe once we have a good track record, we could, maybe people are thinking, your fellow members are thinking, we might actually take some of them back out. So I don't know what you see in the future. Might there be more, might there be less, and how you balance off those two goals?
Yeah, that's a great point, and that's probably one of the, has been one of the criticisms, that it is too restrictive, that there are people who will want to use it who will not be able to because of the restrictions. One of the so I took the amendment about a 10-year sunset, and another amendment we took that I thought was not necessarily necessary, but it was to be able to get somebody's vote on that, was the idea that we already have. You have to ask once, you have to ask again, then you have to do it in writing. We have multiple times of asking it in writing and being witnessed, and then the final amendment somebody wanted was within 48 hours before they take it, they got to write again that it's me, it's still me, and I still want it. And I felt that was very excessive, and but I said okay. I mean, okay, we'll do that. One that I would not take, and it came up in earlier conversations I heard, is somebody wanted to be able to really quantify excruciating pain and not be able to have somebody use it unless their pain was, to a horrific point. And as a social worker, pain takes many different forms. And the idea of a spiritual assessment, not everybody's spiritual, right? So to be able to, that is an amendment I would never have taken, because that would be an imposition sort of my own values about what people need at the end of their life. So I would hope that we don't put more barriers for people to be able to use it, because it is already, I think, very onerous. And I'm not sure what the data is going to start showing and what the hearings will bring forth, or if, I mean, there's other groups who have said, you know, well, what about us? And especially the idea, and I am not suggesting this, please don't leave this room and think I'm suggesting this, but the one issue that has come up to me repeatedly is the issue of Alzheimer's. People with Alzheimer's will not be able to use this. And is there a need at some point for some? Many think so. And again, I am not suggesting that, but I'm saying that is a population that has been left out, with people with dementia and people with Alzheimer's. And that's something that we're going to have to grapple with as we go forward. So we will see, you know, and hopefully researchers in the room will continue to do research on this and see what we can do. But I would hope we don't put more barriers in any ones we remove, that there be good data to support the removal of them.
Can I just make a quick response? And I agree with you that not everyone is religious, and not everyone